Somewhere beneath these ancient stones lie secrets the world was never meant to find. A hidden tomb, a sacred scroll, a legendary ark, an ancient mountain, the place from which Moses saw the promised land, and the place that still guards his greatest mysteries. This is not just history. This is the crossroads of faith, prophecy, and legend. This is the story of Moses and his final journey. After discovering Amman, its history, and the ancient Ammonites in our previous episode, and their connection to the Bible as one of the most feared enemies of the Israelites, we continue our journey through Jordan's breathtaking landscape until we arrive at one truly fascinating mountain. Beyond the battlefields and rivalries, another story unfolds, a story not of war, but of prophecy, where, according to all three Abrahamic religions, a prophet who spoke directly to God, Moses, stood and looked upon the promised land, a land he would never enter. This sacred peak, overlooking the vast lands of the Jordan Valley, is Mount Nebo. In this episode, we uncover the significance of this legendary site, its biblical roots, its hidden history, and its role in the world today. Before arriving at the final chapter of Moses' journey on Mount Nebo, let us first trace his story from the very beginning. The story of Moses is one of faith, miracles, and divine intervention. According to both the Bible and the Quran, he was sent to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. Confronting Pharaoh, Moses called for freedom, but his demands were met with resistance. Then the plagues came, 10 divine signs that shook the Egyptian empire to the ground. At last, the Israelites escaped, crossing the sea as the waters miraculously parted before them. But their journey was far from over. What lay ahead was a test of faith, a wandering that would last 40 years. Through trials and hardship, Moses led his people toward their destiny. They journeyed through the wilderness, receiving divine laws, witnessing miracles, and surviving by the hand of God. And yet, again and again they complained, even yearning for the slavery in Egypt. Then came the greatest test. As they reached the borders of the Promised Land, Moses chose 12 men, one from each tribe, to spy out the land of Canaan. For 40 days they explored it, and the land was indeed rich and fertile. But fear gripped them. 10 of the spies spoke of giants, of fortified cities and undefeatable armies. Panic spread among the Israelites, and they rebelled, refusing to enter the land. Only 2, Joshua and Caleb, stood firm, urging the nation to trust in God's promise. But it was too late. Their hesitation became their downfall, and with that refusal came the sentence: "No one from this evil generation shall see the good land I swore to give your ancestors." And so, a divine decree was made. This generation, born in slavery, raised in the wilderness, would never set foot in the land promised to their ancestors. A journey that could have lasted just 11 days became a march that stretched across 40 long years. They would wander. The desert became their home, and eventually their tomb. Only a new generation, one that had never known Egypt, would rise to inherit the promise. And now we come to the crucial point in the story. Moses, the man who had spoken to God, who had defied Pharaoh, who had parted the sea, his fate too would be sealed by a single moment. At Meribah Kadesh, the people cried out for water. Once again they grumbled, and God gave Moses a simple command: "Speak to the rock, and it will pour out its water." But Moses did not speak. Overcome by frustration, he struck the rock twice with his staff. Water still came, but so did judgment. A single act of disobedience, a moment of defiance, and with it, his destiny was sealed. Because you did not trust me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this assembly into the land I have given them. Still, the journey continued. As the Israelites neared the end of their long 40 years of wandering, they passed through the land of Moab, an ancient kingdom east of the Jordan River, and distant relatives, descendants of Lot, Abraham's nephew. Knowing the journey was about to end on the plains of Moab by God's command, Moses appointed Joshua as his successor, the one who would lead the Israelites into the promised land. And then the time came. The promised land lay just beyond the Jordan River, but before they could take that final step, Moses had one last journey to make. Now 120 years old, Moses stood before the heights of Mount Nebo. This was the final station of a journey that began in Pharaoh's palace and wound through wilderness, rebellion, miracles, and divine encounters. God led him up the mountain, alone. From its peak, the view was vast, stretching across the Jordan Valley, into the hills of Judea, even as far as Jericho and the distant outline of Jerusalem. And there Moses saw it, the promised land, a land he would never enter. This is the land I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have let you see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over into it. And so, on Mount Nebo, the greatest prophet of Israel breathed his last. No one knows where he was buried, no monument, no tombstone. Only the mountain remains, holding the memory of a man who spoke directly with God. But who buried Moses? Was it God himself? According to the book of Deuteronomy, it was, and he buried him in the valley in the land of Moab, but no one knows his burial place to this day. A burial unlike any other, carried out not by human hands, but by God. Some Jewish and Islamic traditions say it was to prevent idolatry, to stop people from turning his grave into a site of worship. Others believe angels were sent to carry out the burial, ensuring his resting place would remain hidden forever. In Islamic narration, the Prophet Muhammad spoke of passing by the grave of Prophet Moses during the miraculous night journey. He described it as being by the roadside, near a red sand hill. There he saw Moses in his grave, praying. Though the exact location remains unconfirmed, many scholars and traditions associate it with Mount Nebo. Today, at the heart of Mount Nebo, lies the Memorial Church of Moses, attracting pilgrims and travelers from every corner of the world. The first sanctuary was built here by early Christians in the 4th century to honor the prophet's final moments. Some discoveries suggest it may have been constructed atop an even older structure, dating back to a time long before Christianity. Early pilgrims believed it to be a sacred place of divine encounters, perhaps even a portal between heaven and earth, because of its connection to Moses. Centuries later, monks expanded it into a grand Byzantine complex, filled with intricate mosaics depicting gazelles, lions, farmers, and village life, fragments of a thriving spiritual community that once lived here. The Byzantine basilica became part of a monastery. It continued to be a basic area of pilgrimage for 600 years, until they abandoned the area in the 16th century. The church and monastery were discovered during excavations in the 1930s, and in 1993, the site was purchased by the Franciscan order. After several centuries of abandonment, modern efforts led to a full restoration. A new protective basilica, built directly over the ancient remains, now shelters the sacred space. Today, visitors can walk across glass floors to experience the original mosaic artistry below, admire the artwork along the walls, and see the remains of the old church that still stand. Some early Jewish mystical traditions spoke of Mount Nebo as a hidden mountain, a place cloaked in divine mist and reachable only to those chosen by God. It was said that only prophets, or those with a divine mission, could truly set foot upon its summit. A lesser-known belief holds that when Moses stood atop, God granted him more than just a view of the Promised Land. He was shown all of history and future, even the coming of the Messiah. Just outside the church, one sculpture attracts attention: the Serpent of Moses, a towering bronze staff entwined with a snake, symbolizing both the bronze serpent Moses raised in the wilderness to heal the people and the Christian symbol of the cross. A powerful fusion of healing and redemption, of the old and the new. Nearby lies Abu Bad, a massive circular stone believed to have once served as the door to an ancient monastery. Carved from a single piece of rock, it stands as evidence of early monastic life in the hills of this region. Mount Nebo's heights have welcomed not only pilgrims, but popes. Pope John Paul II prayed here in 2000, as did Pope Benedict XVI in 2009, and Pope Francis in 2014. All stood where Moses once stood, gazing across the Jordan Valley toward Jericho, the Dead Sea, and on a clear day, the distant outline of Jerusalem. But beyond the visible ruins and mosaics, Mount Nebo is also wrapped in legends and myths. As intriguing as the search for Moses' tomb may be, another legend stirs just as much curiosity. A mystery that has inspired endless speculation and searching to this day, and perhaps forever: the legend of the Ark of the Covenant. In the shadow of Mount Nebo, another prophet's footsteps are said to be stamped: Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, known for his deep sorrow over the sins of his people and the suffering to come. He boldly prophesied the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the First Temple, warning of the consequences of their disobedience to God. According to the books of Maccabees, just before the Babylonian invasion of Jerusalem, Jeremiah, having received a divine message, took the tent of meeting, the Ark of the Covenant, and the altar of incense to the mountain where Moses once viewed the Promised Land. There, he found a cave and concealed these sacred items, sealing the entrance so they would not be defiled by enemies or lost to time. Jeremiah then declared that the place would remain unknown until God gathers his people together once more and shows them mercy. To this day, the Ark of the Covenant and the sacred treasures remain hidden, according to tradition, somewhere on or near Mount Nebo. Whether myth or truth, the story of Jeremiah's act of faith and protection have persisted for centuries, fueling mystery, legends, and even treasure hunters. Some apocryphal writings hint that Moses may have written a final scroll or testament before he died, a document never found. Mount Nebo, as his final resting place, is speculated by some to hold this lost book, a scroll containing final revelations or divine instructions sealed away with the prophet's passing. Mount Nebo remains silent, its winds whispering secrets too old even to name. Whether it guards the tomb of Moses, the Ark of the Covenant, or a scroll never found, one truth remains: this mountain is more than stone and soil. It is a place where history fades into legend, where faith meets mystery. And as long as questions endure, the search will go on, perhaps forever. In the next episode, we journey from the heights of Mount Nebo down to the edge of the wilderness. There, near the banks of an ancient river, lies a place where heaven once opened, where footsteps stirred the dust, and the waters carried a divine calling. It is here that a man stepped into the water, not to be cleansed, but to begin a mission that would change the world. forever.